So we had a follower who asked a question. Do we have any memories of Dick Murdoch and Dick Slater, who were both great friends with Dad? A funny little story. It was really, I think, my only memory of Dick Murdoch, because Dad was was in Texas so much, and Dick wasn't in Texas.
Yeah,
And
proof that Dad didn't just book his friends.
yeah. So it was the summer of 1988, one of the best times in the history of pro wrestling. Um, I always like to recap this. Hulkamania was running wild.
It sure was.
Macho Man Randy Savage was the world champion. The Ultimate Warrior was getting over unbelievably.
The Honky Tonk Man.
Honky Tonk Man was
the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time.
Yeah, and 1988.
Don't forget that.
It was the Four Horsemen. The Great American Bash was on fire.
Public, if you will.
Summer of '88.
Across this country.
And so that's when I have my memory of Dick Murdoch. We were staying in Charlotte, or we were staying in Charlotte at a hotel, and there was a Cracker Barrel restaurant right across the street. And anyways, Dad and Mom, me and you went over there. I guess I remember it was earlier in the day.
So pretty much every day we were over there.
Yeah. So we went over there and got breakfast. And I don't know, we were just sitting over there, and all of a sudden Dick Murdoch shows up.
He was hungry.
Yeah, I don't, because it wasn't like we went over there with him.
No, he just walked up.
Yeah, he just walked up, and then he.
But guys would pass each other in that place all the time.
Yeah. So, and I remember I was really quiet as a little kid.
His birthday's 4 years, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, his birthday was August 16th.
On the same day as Fritz's, ironically.
Yeah, and man, I was always so quiet, and somehow or another it came up that our birthdays were like a day apart, and we just started. He was like talking to me and like just being friendly with me, and I wasn't shy with him. I was just like,
he's a people person.
Yeah, just like being funny with him, and I was like, wow. And I said something. I remember Dick Murdoch looked over at Dad and pointed at me. He's like, I like him. He's just a nice guy. So anyways, just a stupid little story. I remember he wanted to find out something in a newspaper, something that was written in the newspaper. And I don't remember if he asked me, he was like, hey, you want to read it with me? Or he's like, you want a newspaper too? Or something like that. I don't remember. But so we walk outside the Cracker Barrel, and they had little newspaper stands.
This is back when people were far more honest back then.
Yeah. And so he takes a quarter, however much was to get a newspaper.
$1, and it was like, I think $1 on Sunday. So it was a slightly different price range.
Yeah, and he puts the quarter in the newspaper machine, and he opens it, and I'm thinking, okay, he's going to grab a newspaper. And just the funny story, like in my mind, like he grabs 2 newspapers, and I'm like, crap, he's going to steal a newspaper. And so that was pretty much it. That was the end of my Dick Murdoch story.
And then he took the newspaper and goes, here, next time your parents send you down for a newspaper, here, get one for Mom, get one for Dad. See?
Yeah.
Economics, cost cutting, the Murdoch way.
So yeah. I just thought it was funny that he put a quarter in and he grabbed 2 newspapers. Anyways, you got a Dick Murdoch. More about the wrestling.
Well, this happened before we were born. The night that Dad crashed into Tampa Bay, J.J. Dillon, Dick Murdoch, and some of the other guys, their plane, they also flew out from Peter O'Knight Airport into Tampa, and their plane landed a little bit before. And J.J. Dillon has recounted the story where they were actually at the terminal and they could hear the radio call. And I think the flight that Dad and Bobby and Buddy and Uncle Austin were on was BC something. It was 107 or something like that. And they were setting around in the terminal, and they heard it come over the radio. BC 107, whatever the flight number was, has dropped out of sight. Mm-hmm. And JJ said that you could hear a pin drop because they knew what that meant. And sometime later, both JJ and Dick Murdoch jumped in to JJ's car, and they just started driving. Mm-hmm. And then they came upon, this was after Dad and Uncle Austin and Buddy had gotten over the seawall.
Uncle Austin's Austin,
my godfather. And they had the paramedics had come because Dad had kicked in the door, because everybody's heard the story already. The paramedics had showed up in an ambulance. And so it's by Hillsborough Bay, Tampa Bay, and JJ and Dickie are driving down the highway, and they see this commotion, like, okay, that's probably them, because JJ has vividly remembers how Dad looked when he saw him get on the gurney. So they follow them back to the hospital, and my mom, they have to go tell Mom what's happened. And when she gets to the hospital, there's Dick Murdoch. And I'm sure it was well after midnight. I'm sure Dickie had had a couple. So he was always in some kind of shape. And he stayed in the hospital waiting room with my mom that entire night.
Yeah.
And she just cried on his shoulder the entire night. That's a pretty cool straight up dude who has just worked. He's just flown in. He's probably had a couple.
Yeah.
And his buddy's wife is there, and
Yeah.
they've just gone through this hellacious thing, and he stays there with her the entire night.
Yeah, talking about mom, we had a question on one of the videos asking how mom got along with the wrestlers and like what her relationship was with the wrestlers. The first thing that came to mind was, not in a weird way at all, but how much she loved Michael Hayes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that was.
Well, she knew a lot of the guys and liked them as people, but as far as wrestling, she just really didn't care. She pretty much looked at it like Dusty Rhodes and Dick Murdoch. She didn't look at them and say, "Oh, it's the Texas Outlaws." He looked at them like, "These are just two crazy guys that work with my husband."
Right.
It was just guys that it's like anyone else. Like if you were married to like a guy who was on a construction crew, if the guy came over and said, "Oh no, that's the guy that put up the drywall," no, that's just Steve.
Yeah. And mom really liked. She was close with the spoiler.
Yeah, Uncle Donald. She was close with. She was good friends with Fritz and Doris Von Erich. Knew the Von Erich brothers really well. Jack and Jerry Briscoe. She was really, really close with Dusty Rhodes and Dick Murdoch. She was close with them. Dick Slater, she loved him to death, but he drove her up a wall. My Uncle Austin Idol, she loved him to death. She was Bob and Elaine Orton. I mean, she was friends, but she didn't show up at the matches. I mean, Kabuki's girlfriend Lisa could drag her to the matches occasionally. I mean, I can count on my hands the number of times Mom came to the matches with us, and not one time was it ever in that pit off of Industrial and Katie's that we used to call home.
Yeah.